Hello and welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Join us as we explore the tools and insights you need to jumpstart your financial journey. Today on Follow the Money, we dive into the shifting tides of the global semiconductor industry. With the rise of DeepSeek AI and its geopolitical implications, NVIDIA's sudden stock crash, and the intensifying U.S.-China chip war, how will these developments reshape the playing field for countries like the Philippines? Joining us is Dr. Dan Lachica, president of the Semiconductor and Electronics Industries in the Philippines Foundation, or SEIPI, to discuss the implications of these headline-grabbing developments and how the Philippines is positioning itself amid global disruptions. Thank you so much for joining us, Dan, and welcome to Follow the Money.
Thank you, Ray. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Grateful to have you. Now, Dan, DeepSeek AI has been described as a potential game changer in China's tech arsenal. From your perspective, what are the immediate and long-term effects of its rise on the global semiconductor industry?
Well, believe it or not, we kind of missed the train on this AI chips. What happened was with the previous administration and Create law, we kind of drove away some investments that should have come to the Philippines. These investments would have positioned us to be at the forefront of AI chips development and supply. But unfortunately, we missed the train on that one. And so, in fact, that's the reason why we've experienced contraction 10% 2 years ago, 8% this year. But with the previous administration, we're looking forward to turn the corner and essentially get back on track to attract this investments in new products and technologies. Now, as far as the DeepSeek chips, I was actually at NVIDIA, I guess, Monday last week. We had a Philippine pavilion at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And after that, we went to Silicon Valley to visit some a couple of companies who can be our potential export destinations. And one of them is NVIDIA. NVIDIA, not many people know, started in the gaming business, but they really hit it big with AI. And, they're actually looking at launching their new products. But this is, basically, I'm sure it was a surprise to them. Maybe not so much of a surprise, but it was a shock to them that China came up with this new chip. And in fact, the stock market actually reacted. They had a 70% drop in stocks, which translated to about a 600 million loss overnight. And so the thing to do really would be to accelerate the introduction of new products to counter this Chinese AI chip. But, it's just like the geopolitical war or the economic war. I think this is just going to continue. It's just a matter of being able to do your product launches sooner than later, heighten your R&D, and basically respond to what the market needs. NVIDIA will still be around. They're actually overtaken Apple as the biggest, Intel as Apple as the biggest electronics company. But, they will be around. They will recover. As far as the Philippines goes, like I said, the new administration has basically recognized the semiconductor industry as a priority industry. And we've actually seen some actions, proactive actions in terms of helping us recover, like I said, from the doldrums of back-to-back contraction to hopefully help us turn the corner, maybe get some modest growth for 2025. And a big part of that really would be the correction of some of the weaknesses of the Create law. And so, in fact, that's why we have the Create More Act. And we're actually being asked to, our inputs have been solicited to see how the Create More law can be further improved. And hence, we will be providing inputs with our to the IRR. Things, for example, like, ensuring that the VAT for constructive exporters are maintained. The 100% incentives or deduction for the power cost of the company, and maybe insulating the locators from the inconsistent rules in the LGU. So a lot of stuff like that really reinforces the fact that our government has prioritized the electronics industry, and we're here open for business, waiting for the new investments in new products and technologies to come.
But also you're growing your markets, your export markets. If I'm not mistaken, you were actively courting TSMC and UMC to establish facilities here in the Philippines. Has there been any commitment from any of these tech giants, American and Taiwanese tech giants, to invest more here in the Philippines? And will that bring us up to speed in what you said was the Philippines missing the train on the AI chip development and supply deals?
Well, UMC has a division for e-vehicles, and there has been active talk in terms of encouraging them to invest in hopefully e-vehicles in the Philippines. TSMC is a bigger challenge. They've invested, for one thing, TSMC in Taiwan accounts for like 70% of the world's supply of wafers, including the ones we use in the Philippines, right? And, they've invested $40 billion in 2 wafer fab facilities in Phoenix, and we hope that they would reconsider and put up like a wafer fab in the Philippines, but that's not going to happen. So what we've done really is talk to the government, specifically DOST, and came up with a proposal to start up a lab scale wafer fab as a proof of concept, and to train our people to support the IC design industry in doing their prototypes, and to get us ready, the supply chain, the infrastructure, to get our feet wet, so to speak, in the wafer fab fabrication business. This is something that I've been doing for 16 years in Silicon Valley before I repatriated. So I know it can be done in the Philippines, but there's just a lot of challenges to overcome to convince the world, including the United States, that we can excel not just in back-end assembly, test, and packaging, but we can also do front-end semiconductor wafer fab processing.
Well, I'm glad we're expanding our capabilities, but of course, Southeast Asia is positioning itself as a key semiconductor hub. Where does the Philippines stand in this race compared to its neighbors, and how do you see this affecting investor sentiment?
Well, like I said, we're very strong in assembly, test, and packaging. In fact, with the CHIPS Act, ITSI fund, the United States has allocated something like $13.7 billion to train, our university professors and eventually the workforce in the advanced assembly, test, and packaging for wafers that are going to come out of the high-tech wafer fabs in the United States. Unfortunately, the ASU, which has been commissioned by ITSI to do the training, they've started the workshops. They've made a couple of trips here, but unfortunately, with the halt or suspension, if you will, of the grants that the United States is doing, this activity has been suspended. In other words, we're going to have to wait until further guidance comes from the United States, so when we can resume this training. But nonetheless, like I said, 70% of the $45.6 billion export of the Philippines comes from semiconductors, primarily for assembly, test, and packaging. And we will continue to do that. And what we're trying to do here is, expand our ecosystem, if you will. We have some integrated circuit design in companies that have started. We don't have the prototype capability builds for that. That's why we're proposing the lab scale wafer fab. And so we want to grow our IC design business and essentially complete the supply chain from IC design to some level of wafer fabrication, and of course feeding into the assembly, test, and packaging. Right. So we're just concerned about ensuring that we have the supply chain for wafers, especially if something happens to TSMC and Taiwan because of some geopolitical, economic challenges that are out on the horizon.
Talk about geopolitical challenges with the White House evaluating DeepSeek as a national security threat. Do you foresee similar tech-based competition or policies affecting Philippine partnerships with China or other countries? Should we be looking at the supply chain, our supply chain here in the Philippines, and checking it for national security threat?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you've heard talk about ensuring that they have supply chain security here in the Philippines. The fact that our semiconductor sector is controlled primarily by multinationals, so that's good in the sense that we will continue to, especially with the investment environment, we will continue with this activities in the semiconductor end. What is concerning, though, is if the supply chain is interrupted. Like I said, if we lose the wafer supply from Taiwan, primarily TSMC, then we're going to be in big trouble, right? So while I know that some sectors in the government, even the private sector, think it's premature, if not impossible, to do a wafer fab, strategically, I think it's in the right move, and I'm glad that DOST agrees with that, and hopefully we'll see how we can prosper that idea. We've been talking to a bank that would be interested in perhaps funding this lab scale wafer fab. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, we got to think long term. We got to think strategically. While we know that assembly, test, and packaging is the low hanging fruit, we can't ignore what will happen in the future strategically for the to preserve the semiconductor industry as the main commodity export and livelihood. We have about 3 million direct and indirect workers, so we want to make sure that they can get continuous employment and of course grow the industry beyond where we are today.
Right. Well, Dan, unfortunately, we don't have enough time anymore, but I do want to ask you one last question. And of course, this is a special segment that we have, and we want to get down and personal with our guest, off the cuff, real life, follow the money question.
Mm-hmm. Yes, fire away.
Dr. Lachica, we know you're smart with your money, but let's be honest, everybody's got that one indulgence they cannot say no to. So our question for you is, what's the one thing you don't mind splurging on, no matter the cost?
I think first and foremost, if I were to be asked what my secret is, and that is trusting my wife with the money, because sometimes I may get frivolous and spend on some other unnecessary stuff, but my wife keeps the purse strings in control. But to your point, really, I don't spend a whole lot. In fact, my wife accuses me that I'm too stingy for myself. But when it comes to my family, when it comes to the children, the wife, and everything, I will splurge. I don't mind splurging. So that probably would be where the money trail is in our family.
All right, sounds good to me. Well, a smart home, a sharp mind, happy wife, happy life. Sounds like a winning combination. And if you don't mind, if you'd like this episode and want to join the conversation or answer our questions, share them with us. Social media, X, Facebook, and YouTube. #FollowTheMoneyBNC. We shall post some of those answers on our next episode. Thank you so much, Dr. Dan Lachica, President of SEIPI, for joining us today and addressing these urgent issues.
Thank you, Ray, and your viewers. God bless you.
It's an honor to see you and glad to have you. Thank you. To wrap up, it's clear that the rise of DeepSeek AI, NVIDIA's volatility, and the U.S.-China chip war are reminders of how dynamic and fragile the semiconductor landscape can be, underscoring the importance of the Philippines stepping up its value chain game to remain competitive. Up next, the Philippines was gearing up for a global minimum tax, but now U.S. President Donald Trump wants out. Our next guest will tell us what this means. Stay on BNC and follow the money.
Source of news and information.
That's it?
Follows you everywhere, every day.
Guys? Wow.
Oh, man.
On cable and free TV. Online.
He joins us from the Batasan Komercial.
On mobile.
Simulan na natin ang agenda. No price.
This is BNC, and we are everywhere. From the filing of candidacies until the last ballot is counted, your newest trusted news source, BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel, will be at the forefront to guide your decisions and guard your vote. Tune in to BNC's Election 2025 special coverage.
Welcome back to Follow the Money. The global economy is on the brink of transformative shift, with a push for a global minimum tax gaining momentum worldwide. Aimed at ensuring multinational corporations pay their fair share, this OECD-led initiative could impact tax revenues, business competitiveness, and global cooperation. Here in the Philippines, the debate continues over whether adopting this policy will strengthen our fiscal position or threaten our investment climate. Joining us today on Follow the Money is Mona Brea, CEO of the Asian Consulting Group, known as the Tax Whiz of the Philippines. He's been a staunch advocate for tax reform and transparency, and his expertise will help us dissect the implications of the global minimum tax on the Philippines. Mon, welcome to Follow the Money, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, direct from the airport.
We appreciate you making it straight from Madrid.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. So, of course, the news today in the past 24 hours has been that President Trump, not even there for 2 weeks, back in the White House, has already said, I'm not for global minimum tax.
It's not a surprise. I think he's withdrawing from a lot of international cooperations or agreements with the Paris Agreement, with the World Health Organization, and now with OECD.
But let's go back to the basics first. What is this global minimum tax, and why do you think the Philippines should be adopting it?
Well, honestly, it's high time that we focus on the large multinational corporations or the companies that really make billions of pesos or even trillions in dollars. So it will address the base erosion and profit shifting, where they conveniently shift their profits in low tax jurisdictions or tax havens. As we all know, Cayman Island, Bahamas, British Virgin Islands, where they don't practically pay taxes. But they don't operate there, except that their money, their profits are being reported there.
Right.
So they don't pay taxes.
Right. So this means that this particular tax move by the OECD, this agreement, actually affects only the global multinationals. Is that it?
Yes, those with the annual global revenues above 750 million euros, or in the Philippines, it's roughly 45 billion pesos.
Right. And do we know how much of Philippine companies might be affected by the global minimum
There
tax?
are a few, but of course, we know already Jollibee, Universal Robina, the top ones, the SM Investment Corporation, International Container Terminal Services, San Miguel Corporation, and some more, but not so much.
Have you been able to get any input from them as to whether they are for or against global minimum tax?
Not really, but honestly, whether they are for or not, I don't think it will matter because there are 147 signatories. And going back to your point, question whether Philippines should adopt it or not, it's more of gain for us. It's an opportunity cost if we ignore it, because it's an opportunity to actually improve our fiscal situation, because it will give us more revenues. Imagine collecting the top-up tax, more taxes from these multinational corporations, rather than allowing it to be shifted away. And God knows that it's no longer collected. So this time, including Facebook, Amazon, Google, all those who have for years shifted their revenues and not paying taxes at all, especially in the Philippines. Remember, Congressman Salceda mentioned that during the pandemic, how much billions of pesos they have earned in the Philippines alone because of e-commerce, online shopping, and everything. But not a single peso was paid to the Philippine government.
But so this is the incoming benefit to the Philippines from the global minimum tax. But when you have a Trump saying, okay, I'm not going to participate in that particular agreement by with the OECD, what does that mean for American companies then?
It's actually more harm for the American companies because they end up paying more, paying to the U.S. government, and at the same time being run after by the 140 signatories, or now 146 U.S. out of the list. So yeah, you cannot, Trump can control whatever happens in his jurisdiction, but outside the U.S. territories, he has no control. So the 146 countries can still collect, and it will now be more beneficial for them because they will collect the top-up tax.
And you and a senator are working on making sure that the Philippines will be compliant with global minimum tax.
Yes, because Raine, number one, we're a signatory. Number two, there's more benefit because of the data sharing. We don't need to second guess how much Facebook is earning or how much global multinational companies earning, because OECD will help facilitate the data sharing and the simultaneous assessment and investigation of all these companies. So that's so much potential for us. And we're working with Senator Win Gatchalian, the chair of the Senate Ways and Means Committee, and of course with the OECD. The commitment of OECD is the same with the Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, who are already implementing it. So we're already lagging behind, Raine. So there's urgency that we expedite the adoption of OECD global minimum tax.
What does it cost to delay implementing the global minimum tax here in the Philippines?
Obviously, we will not be able to collect these potential revenues. The total is around $220 billion. We don't know yet for the Philippines how much of that how much is the slice of our pie in the 220 billion. But what I was saying is at least 1% of that can definitely help. Per year can definitely improve government services and enough funding, especially for social services.
And how does this align with our existing laws, like create more, the goal of making the Philippines more investment friendly?
Just to clear the doubts, it will not lessen our competitiveness. Obviously, because Vietnam and the rest of our ASEAN neighbor countries have adopted and implemented the OECD global minimum tax. Number two, it focuses on large multinational corporations with more than 750 million euros in terms of their global annual revenues. Therefore, the rest will not be affected. And the third is, it's still a discretion of the country or the government whether to collect the top-up tax or not. If you don't collect it, then the headquarter country or where the headquarter is located will be the one to benefit from the global minimum tax. So whether you do anything, you do nothing, if you choose to do nothing, then another country will benefit. So while we are not adopting it, then other countries will be benefiting from the supposedly potential revenue for the Philippines.
Which brings us to incentives and PEZA. Of course, if you are trying to attract certain companies to locate here in the Philippines, would this be one of the incentives that you could dangle in front of them? But for how long? It can't be forever.
Exactly. In fact, OECD is trying to address that race to the bottom, wherein countries are literally giving away their tax or tax holidays, not charging taxes just to attract foreign investments. But at the end of the day, it should be the ease of doing business, the business climate, the transparency that there is no corruption and that really there's less cost in terms of doing business in your country. That should be our offer to our foreign investors, not just tax holiday. It will still be there.
Yeah.
We're not removing it. It will still be there.
So when it comes to the Philippines, Philippine businesses, again, it's the multinationals that will be affected, not the MSMEs. So in their recording, in their reporting of their taxes and their financial statements, how should they be preparing for the global minimum tax?
In fact, that's the reason, that's one of the challenges, because the first Raine is the Bureau of Internal Revenue, that they should be prepared in terms of the IT infrastructure and the technical assistance of OECD is there so that they can assist the multinational companies. We need to make sure that our tax agency will also be prepared once we adopt and implement the global minimum tax.
$220 billion per year, and a slice of that could be for the Philippines, and of course, you know, enough incentive for us to be able to work on global minimum tax, and hopefully that passes at the soonest possible time. Now we go to our special segment. We would like to ask our guest a personal, very personal, off the cuff and real life follow the money question. Now, Mona, we know that you're smart with your money. You are a tax whiz. And you're a tax whiz for a lot of companies all over the world. We want to ask you, let's be honest, and everybody's got that one thing that they cannot say no to. So for a question for you is, what's the one thing that you don't mind splurging money on no matter what the cost is?
Honestly, if I'm with my family, because I live in the US, so every time I'm here, and I'm here now, so my first weekend will always be with my family, so I don't set a budget. Whatever they want, wherever they want to eat or whatever they want to buy, I give it to them, especially for my mom.
Oh, okay. Well, when it comes to the mom, there's no price high
If
enough.
that is for the
Definitely.
wife, I'm still single, it's for my mom. So whatever she wants, we don't even look at the price tag.
Absolutely, definitely anything for our
I hope my mom is
parents.
not watching.
And we'll send this clip to her for sure. Thank you so much for that. And if you like this episode, we want you to join the conversation, answer our question, share them with us on social media, X, Facebook, and YouTube. #FollowTheMoney, and we shall post some of those answers on our next episode. Again, thank you so much, Mona Brea, CEO of Asian Consulting Group, for shedding light on this critical issue. We appreciate you being here straight from the airport. Thank you. Now, the global minimum tax presents both opportunities for increased revenue and challenges for maintaining the Philippines' competitiveness in attracting investments. Now, balancing these priorities will be key to crafting a sustainable tax policy. And that is it for today's edition of Follow the Money. I'm Raine Musñgi. Thank you so much for watching. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel, always on time.